Hey guys, Sean again, Custom Offsets TV with another episode of Shit I Never Knew. It's been a while because there hasn't been shit much that I've known lately, but I just realized I do know one more thing that I'm going to share with you. So this is episode 10, and we're going to call this one Level With Me, Bro. This is going to be all about level kits. So we do a pile of these, and it's been super popular that people are leveling, especially with the Chevy Silverado 1500s, so that they then can do 10 wides and 33s with a little bit of trimming. So what we're getting is a lot of questions around what is a leveling kit, how the heck does that even work, how high can I actually go? So we're hoping this is going to help. So there's probably three major ways to level. One would be just for GM, and it's a spacer under the strut. There's another that's super common in many of them, and that's a spacer above or on top of the strut. And then for the older trucks and a lot of the HD trucks, you're going to have torsion keys. A lot of people, those are like the duck head style keys. So those are the types. Let me show you a couple of those. So this one from TGC, and you can go on their site if you're interested in snapping some of these up. This isn't something that we're currently carrying on the site, but we use a ton of them here in the shop. They're fairly inexpensive. So these are stacked together, and they go on your lower control arm right here, and then your strut is reattached, and that space that it's creating between there is what's going to actually lift that front end 2 inches. So that much lifts the front end 2 inches. And what that does for a Chevy Silverado 1500, if you guys have Chevys, you know this, and a lot of the other trucks are like this too, but we do a lot of Chevys, that your Chevy with your square wheel wells comes with the ass end of it up about 2 inches. So when you lift up the front 2 inches with that spacer underneath the strut, it basically levels this thing out front to back. What it also does is it pushes that wheel and tire down and gets it a little more out of this square wheel well, so that the tire going down creates a little bit more room here and here, so you can go bigger and wider. So that is the below the strut. So that's number one. The other one, which is super common, same strut, and for those that don't know, the strut goes there. It goes this way, so this is the top of the strut, goes into the strut tower. So this one is a strut spacer, and this isn't for this truck, but it basically goes here, and it puts the spacing at the top of that strut, so that again, it's pushing the truck up and away and lifting it up that 2 inches. So that one again is typically a 2 to 2.5 inch spacer at the top. ProRide, these guys, you've seen them all over our site. We've used a ton of them. They created one that's adjustable. So what they've done is they made this so that you can adjust it, thus being able to change. So if you wanted to go up 3 inches on the front using this spacer, you can do that versus 2 inches. So that's an example of the same one, but this is fixed. And as you could see, the ProRide is adjustable and can go up. So if you picture it on top of that one, instead of being on the bottom, it's going on top of the strut. So that covers that one. And then the third and final one would be your torsion keys. So on the torsion style, and I'm going to have Junior right now show you a pan of the CO2's 2500. For those torsion bars running front to back, this piece here, when you twist it, it twists that torsion bar. So this is something that took me a while to learn, because I'm not a very fast learner. But basically what you have is your lower control arm comes out like this, and that torsion bar is got like a hex design to it so that when you twist it, it moves this thing up and down. So as you crank these torsion keys, which are down inside of there, as you crank them, it twists that bar and then twists this lower control arm, and that's what moves the front of the truck up and down. As you can imagine, that also moves your alignment. So you got your wheel hanging off right here, your tire. That's what messes with the alignment. That's why you have to have an alignment done every time you have a leveling kit. Any style of these is going to be moving these components, so you're going to have that alignment done. But back to the keys. So the key style, it's basically, instead of being a stock key, which has a certain curvature to it, it makes it a more aggressive curvature so that it's already twisting that torsion bar more than the stock one at all times. And then like this ProRide torsion key kit, it's going to come with 2 different sizes. So this is for the guy that doesn't want to crank the living daylights out of it. These bolts are for the guy that's going to crank it way up and really raise that front end. I believe this kit goes all the way up to 3 or 3.5 inches. 3 inch. So this will go up to 3 inch. You'll see a lot of them that are cheaper than the ProRide, and the reason is they don't go all the way up to 3 inch. I think most of them are 2 or 2.5, 2 to 2.5 inch. So with these longer bolts, you can go all the way up to 3 inch. The reason, and it also comes with, because it goes up to 3 inch, it's going to come up with shock extenders. So these are going to go in there, and they'll basically go between where your shock mounts now and your shock to extend it so that you don't have that shock completely stretched out when you've got this thing totally cranked. So because it goes up to 3 inches, you basically would have squat if you did a Chevy, because remember we just talked about that your Chevy or Ford or Dodge is basically, wow, Junior, shit got weird back there. It's like an Aztec or an Avalanche or something. So when you bring this up 3 inches, now you're actually going to be about 1 inch down in the back. So you're going to have that Cali lean or that Carolina squat, whatever you want to call it. If you want that, that's awesome. Over in the Walmart parking lot, that is definitely the thing that's happening right now, and I'm down with it. I'm cool. If you don't want that, you now have to level the rear. So you went from doing a leveling kit to get your front end equal with your rear to you went 3 inches where you actually lifted the front. Now you have to lift the rear to compensate. So there's kits like this one, which can go from 1 inch all the way up to 2 inch. So this removes the blocks in the rear. So you have your leaf springs. Let's make sure I draw these right, Junior. If you're looking at your back wheel, your leaf pack, we're going to exaggerate, it comes through like this, and your axle is sitting in there, and there's a block on the bottom of that pack. So what we're doing is we're removing that factory block, which is 2 inches, that gave you that rake of the vehicle, and you're replacing it with this block that's 4 inches, and you're stabbing that in there. So now what that's doing is it's pushing your axle down 4 inches, an additional 2 inches, and bringing the ass end up 2 inches. So now you're 3 up in the front, 2 up in the rear, which is a total now of 4 up in the rear versus 3. So now you'll have 1 inch of rake. So instead of the Carolina squat, you will be back to ready to tow. Junior, I don't know what's going on. You'll be back to ready to tow, where the ass of the truck would be up 1 inch in the back. You'd be up, so you'd have that rake again. And the reason they do rake on vehicles, in case you never knew, is so that when you hook a load, your trailer, your camper, your jet skis to the back of here, and it pushes down on the truck, it still remains fairly level and doesn't start lifting your front tires up off the ground. Because if you've got a leveled truck, just picture this, you're all leveled out and you borrow Grandpa's 40-foot trailer and you load that thing down or fill it with a load of gravel, you're now one of those Carolina squat kids. Your whole front end's up in the air and your steering becomes pretty light because you're taking basically the front end of the truck off the ground. I'm exhausted, Junior. I think that's everything I know. So the most common, let me make a point. The most common thing people are doing is they're coming into our shop or they're coming onto our website and they're buying a 2-inch front level kit and then an alignment so that they can put 20 by 10s and 33-inch mud tires on their Chevy. Some of the other kids are getting the same thing for their Ford. So this would be quite a good amount of trimming still. This would basically be no trimming, just the valence. A Dodge fits all freaking day, no trim. Some guys will even go, they'll take their 2500s, especially the Dodges and the Super Duties, your Super Duties, and they're doing a 2-inch level. And then they're putting 20 by 12s and 33s. Or they're doing 20 by 10s and 35s. And that's why they're doing the level, because you started off with a truck that looked just like Grandpa's, where the back end is 2 inches up. So it's got this kind of look to it. And they're basically bringing up the front end 2 inches, creating more space, putting the wheels down here. That wheel stays put. And now you've got your clearance so that you can put those bigger wheels and tires in there. That's level with me, bro. Peace.